Mr. Ansab, I'm back. Today I've got Ghazala, matrimonial expert. Ghazala, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you for coming. I've heard a lot about you, and thank you for coming down. Now, Ghazala, you're a radio host.
Yes.
You're for a matrimonial service for Muslims.
Yes.
Is it just for Muslims or is it for other groups as well? Or
Well, currently with the matrimonial coach company it's just for the Muslims, but I do have an app which is called Love Connection, and that will be available for all faiths and all communities.
Mashallah, tell me more about this app you've got coming.
Okay, so the app is currently already available in its testing form on Android. It's called Love Connection, and it's a matchmaking but also a coaching application as well, because many people struggle when it comes to relationships.
Yes.
So it's a tool for them to learn about different areas, different aspects of relationships that people struggle with, and it helps to improve their own understanding about relationships, self-discovery, see where their weaknesses are, where they need to work on in order to improve themselves so they have better relationships.
So typically what happens is that when a relationship hits the rocks or it starts going wrong, people go for counselling, don't they? But at that point, it's usually too late, isn't it? Yes. And so people don't seek help beforehand. Yeah. And is that what you're trying to do here?
Absolutely. It's important that people really recognise relationships as a subject that needs to be studied, and people need to understand what their triggers are, what their thought process is, what their mindset is, what their values are, what their lifestyle is, so that the person that they select to get married to is compatible with them, is aligned with them, so that they don't struggle when they have their marriages, because this is the whole idea of having this application or having coaching or counselling. We don't want to go there when it's too late. It's about understanding relationships and making sure that you put all the measures and all the strategies in place to avoid such situations where relationships might break down.
I think you're right. I think in particular in the Muslim community, relationships have evolved over time. Before, it used to be a case of the man would have to go out and work, and the woman wears a dupatta and slippers, and she just and it's moved beyond that, really, hasn't it?
Definitely. You've got roles, responsibilities, and rights, and these have all changed now. So obviously, Islamically, women have their rights, men have their rights. You have the roles, which have very, very much changed now. Whereas, many of the younger girls are very highly educated, they're working, they're bringing in an income. And, responsibilities, who's looking after the house and who's looking after the children and who's, so these are where the conflicts can happen.
Right.
Because these have changed. And yes, it's still continuing to change. And you very rightly said that as individuals, we change, we evolve. So, you might marry somebody thinking, okay, they tick all the boxes, but they might change, you might change, your ideas might change. So this is where it's a constant battle that people are having within relationships. They might be absolutely fine to begin with, but they might say to you, okay, she was fine or he was fine when we got married, but we're now facing all these problems. But different events in our lives will change us. And because different events in our lives change us, if your partner can understand you, you're communicating well with them, you're using the strategies that we've got in our application, or you're using a coach to support you, then that will be something that you will be aware of, and you'll be able to fix the problem before it becomes out of control.
Ghazala, can you give me an example of some of the strategies you've got in this app that you give for people sort of to help with their relationships?
Okay, so the first one, the main one is obviously there's 30 different categories that we've got within the application, and they range from absolutely everything. So the basic one is the mindfulness. So understand when we're communicating or when we're saying things, understanding what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, why we are feeling this. Is it just us feeling, or is it the partner sort of actually being like this? So using different statements like I'm feeling this, rather saying you did, like that causes the conflict. There's different topics. Mindfulness is the one that I would say is the main one, the basic, the foundation one. Everybody would need to do that. Then you've got conflict resolution, you've got other areas like communication skills, which is a huge one, because a lot of the times when people argue with each other, they switch off.
Yes.
They don't want to talk with each other. They just don't want to mention it. They think that's they do what we call stonewall. They just what is it called? Where they just shut off. They just
shut down.
They don't want to communicate with anyone. So communication is key. Then you've also got expectations. People have wrong expectations, very high expectations these days. Realizing what your expectations are they realistic? Are they unrealistic expectations? There's other topics that we've got within the application that go over certain modern day relationship challenges. Social media is one of them. Then you've got like pornography, you've got like people that might be abusing drugs. And so how do you deal with a partner who has an issue with maybe alcohol or something like that? How are you dealing with that? Somebody who's maybe having an affair, forgiveness and things. So partnerships throughout your lifetime with a partner, you'll see different versions of your partner. Different events will happen, different challenges will come across. How are you going to deal with them? And that's why people are giving up too soon. They're not sort of allowing things to sort of understand things to help that situation. It's an easiest option is just to walk away from it.
Yeah.
When you have to work on the marriage and you have to remain with that person and, look at how you could fix this, that's the difficult part, isn't it?
Absolutely,
But the application will give you a great insight of understanding yourself, understanding your partner, and look at ways of how you can move forward from it.
Okay, so what's the application called again?
Love Connection.
Love Connection, right? Okay, people, check it out. It's now, Ghazala, you've got your finger on the pulse. You've got this matrimonial, this app over here about relationships. You also have a radio talk show where you talk about matrimonial issues, and you provide a matrimonial service as well, don't you?
Yes, I do.
So you've got your finger on the pulse here.
Yes.
Now, one thing you touched upon there was that addiction.
Yeah.
There's lots of the Asian community likes to brush things under the carpet, keep it hidden.
Yeah.
We all know somebody who's got a bit of a problem with addiction.
Yeah.
For example, I know people. Who have they're hooked onto harder drugs.
Yeah.
They have a good professional job, but this issue they've had and they've kept it hidden from their partner.
Yeah.
But it's only so much you can keep hidden over time.
Absolutely.
Have you seen examples of this?
Definitely. I mean, this is very, very evident within the communities. I mean, I come from Birmingham, and it's a huge problem where a lot of the guys, even the girls as well, they're experimenting with different substances. Sometimes the partners do know, and they might be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that then causes a massive problem when children come along, But yeah, you are right. Families don't accept it. Families just deny it. If anybody comes up to a parent to say, your son, we saw him drunk, or they'll just completely deny that he's ever done anything wrong. But it's about accepting it and trying to find help for them, because in the long term, it is going to cause relationship problems. It is going to cause some major issues within the families, for the children, for the family, for the husband and wife, and just generally their own well-being and their at workplace and in their general life. They will have issues with that.
I think you're absolutely right. I think in particular, certain people work in certain work environments where there's a lot of that kind of thing that goes on.
Yeah.
And then they get caught up in it.
Yeah.
Whether it's drink or drugs or whatnot.
Yeah.
And they think it's part of the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
They get drawn in, and the partner will know, but just let it pass or whatever. But I think in particular, from what I've seen, it's when the kids get older and they start saying, look, what on earth are you playing at?
Yeah. But sometimes the partners, in particular the girls, they just think, well, we don't really care what he's doing as long as he's giving me money, as long as he's providing.
Yes.
You know, he could do what the hell he likes, sort of thing.
There's a lot of that going on. Yeah.
That's the attitude that they've got, because they think, well, you know, initially it might have taken them a while to meet with that person. They might have used a matrimonial service like myself, or they might have organically met them. Whichever way they've met them, they're thinking, well, okay, they're looking at their age, they're looking at their situation, and they're thinking, well, that's fine, you know, he can continue to do what he's doing. But of course, if he's under the influence, he might be beating, he might be doing other things, you know, he might be taking money from her, he might be doing all sorts of things. Obviously, in a toxic relationship, I'm never going to say that you should still try to fix those things. If it's somebody who's really abusing in that relationship, then there's obviously you know, Islam allows a person to kind of like end that marriage, but that should be amicably. It should be, you know, not done in a vicious sort of way, or it should be discussed as well that this is not healthy for each one of us, and we need to kind of like walk away from it. But if it's sometimes it works for people, sometimes they think, well, okay, that's fine, but then they realize when the children are grown up and then they've left home and then they're left on their own, then they think, well, you know, what am I doing with this person? And you see a lot of women that have been married for 25, 30 years, children have all grown up and left, and then they just realise that I don't think I really need to be with this person anymore.
How often did you see that happen?
Quite often now, you know, especially if the girls were married with somebody from back home, and he was probably not providing much to the household. He was generally sending money back home, you know, to his family, and they've kind of struggled through that marriage themselves, and the children have seen that it's the mom that's been providing the majority of the things, so the majority of their needs, you know, for fulfilling their needs with financially. And then when children have gone, and children have probably already said to them, because you wouldn't have heard many years ago where children are saying you should leave dad, or you know, I think you should end it, but they're seeing things in a different way, and they're thinking, well, why are you two both together? You're always arguing, there's nothing, you know, compatible about you, you're living in separate rooms, you know, and why are you together? So the children are encouraging the parents to separate and divorce.
Right. Wow. Are you seeing a lot of that?
Yeah, that's going on quite a lot now. Not you know 100%, but I'm saying that there's people that have struggled in their relationships but have kept the relationship because of the children. When the children are ready to fly the nest, then this is the message that they're giving to the parents, that we don't want you to argue, we don't think that you're right for each other, you know, it's best that you separate. Right. And then I've also had young guys, you know, that are ready at an age to get married themselves, contact me and asked me to, you know, acting as what normally parents do when they ring to say, I've got a daughter or I've got a son and they're this age and, you know, I'm looking for a suitable match for them, can you help us? I'm getting young guys and young girls ringing me saying, my parents are divorced and I want to find somebody suitable for my mom. You know, it wasn't a good marriage, mom and dad didn't get on with each other, but I've, you know, now they're separated and they're divorced. I want to find somebody, I want my mom to find somebody suitable, and have you got anybody that could be a good match for her? So these are different trends that we would never expect, you know, for a son or a daughter to be supporting their parent to remarry after a divorce.
Do you think it's a case of sometimes the grass appears to always to be greener? Do you think sometimes...
I think that's always going to be the case, you know, wherever you live, whatever you do, you always think, well, maybe I'm in the wrong place, you know, maybe I'm not doing very well at the moment, maybe I'm married to the wrong person, maybe if I married somebody else I would have been happier, but this is just the way the mind works, you know, it's always constantly, it's the shaitan also telling us. Shaitan plays a big part when it comes to destroying marriages.
Absolutely,
you know?
Yeah, very good point.
And he's very, very, he celebrates, you know, when when fitna, goes on and two husband and wife argue with each other, and that message kind of like is then relayed. This is something that really pleases the shaitan.
Yes.
That okay, that's great. That's the happiest moment for shaitan is when two husband and wife argue with each other and a marriage breaks down.
Yeah.
So it is a sacred bond. There's no blood, in here. Whereas even though you might argue with your brother and sister or your parents at times because you disagree with them, that bond is always there. It can never break. You're still always going to be the sister, or you're always going to be the mother, or you're always going to be whatever your relationship is with that person. But the husband and wife relationship is one that can finish, by a divorce.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the one. But you still can be connected with children through the children, because you're still maybe parents of both mom and dad, so you're always going to have that connection, I guess. But the husband and wife relationship can break, so you have to be careful on why things are happening. Is somebody stirring the pot?
There's a lot of that going on as well.
Yeah.
Jealous relatives,
Yeah.
people getting people's ears. I think people, as you were saying, evolve over time.
Yeah.
Certain friendships come and go, closeness with friends or families, and they listen to too many, sometimes the wrong people.
Yeah. And sometimes, there's this long time story, this story that we've been hearing over centuries now, I guess, where the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law
Yes.
kind of thing, So in our communities, there's a lot of that as well. So sometimes the mother-in-law feels that she's losing the son.
Yes.
And that, he should be providing for us, and the traditional sort of thing where the daughter-in-law would stay within the household.
Yeah.
And that you would then have children, and we'll be looking after the grandchildren and what have you, and you do duties for us, for the parents of the boy. But nowadays you're finding that when people are coming to get married, the one of the requirements that they have is that the boy has got his own house, he's got his own property, because they don't want to see those dramas where she might face challenges and difficulties in her marriage.
I think you're absolutely right. Ghazala, part of the problem here is, if you watch any of these Pakistani dramas, which are usually very, very good, if you watch, there's always, either the evil daughter-in-law or the evil mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And there's a constant battle going on.
Absolutely. And then there's also in the Pakistani dramas that the guy just goes and gets married to another wife as well.
Yes, there's always that. Yeah.
So there's a, relationships they've always kind of like been a big challenge for many, many people, whether it's through different people within the household that might be causing problems for them, or them not being able to connect with their partner better, not understanding how to deal with certain situations. They've always been challenging, but people have just prodded along, sort of thing. It's okay, it's acceptable. That's what happens in
just put up with it, and bear with it.
Put up with it. It's okay. But the younger generation are not accepting that.
No way.
They're not going to accept that because they're educated. They've seen the world. They know what their expectation is. They're exposed to social media. They're exposed to a lot of, globally what's going on in the world.
Well, this is it. Ghazala, do you think it's a lot of where, I hate to say this, but the Pakistani mentality or the Indian mentality from that part of the world, the mother-in-law feels like she's got certain rights over the daughter-in-law?
Yeah. There's still that, but of course, if you look at here in the UK, a lot of the women that are now becoming mother-in-laws, they might have born, might be somebody who was born here, educated here, so they have got a different mindset. That they understand, and perhaps if they've also experienced challenges themselves in a relationship, then they're not going to want to have the same experience for their daughter-in-law. So they would want to be friends with their daughter-in-law, okay? But daughter-in-laws can be quite particular about who they want in their, they want to set boundaries. They don't want to have anybody, interfering. They feel it might be an interference as well. And sometimes it can be, So I always advise that for the first few years, just to make sure that they give the quality time to the girl and the boy to bond with each other, and don't interfere in their situation.
Okay, I think now, Ghazala, from Islamic perspective, you have to give the certain rights. Obviously, you owe certain responsibility as a man, in a relationship, to your mother.
Yes.
And to your wife as well.
Yes.
Now, I heard there's a guy who got married in Bradford. It's a bit of an urban legend now. He got married, and literally the next day was a walima, and she spilt something on the mother, or the mother spilt something on her, and she called her a cow. The husband says, apologise. She goes, no. He divorced her there on the spot.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's it. You've got to grow up a little here, haven't you?
Yeah.
And Islamically, you've got certain responsibilities, haven't you, really?
The thing is that for a girl to do that to the mother, it's just respect, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, if they've got good adab, if they've got good manners, if they've been brought up in a respectful way, if they know how to respect their elders, it's not about controlling the man, and it's not about owning him in any way. The mother gave birth to him, she's brought him up. Yes, everybody might have some flaws. Maybe she might be somebody that you dislike, but she's still the mother of your husband.
Yeah.
So there has to be respect, and vice versa. The mother of the woman. The husband should respect her as well.
Absolutely.
Because mother-in-law is still got the mother title there, and she's deserving of some respect. Okay, but yes, there might be some women that are evil, or they might be someone that are not very nice, but it's how you deal with that and how you manage that at the same time as well, because your approach can be very different if you look at your mind and look at, well, how do I need to respond here? Do I kind of bite my tongue, or sort of like still show respect, but maybe talk to her later on about it, or talk to my husband about it, whichever approach you wanted to make. Perhaps talking to her directly would be better than talking to the husband and in front of the husband, so he knows exactly what you've said, so she doesn't come round to say that, oh, your wife said this to me,
Yeah.
And using the right tone, using the right body language, just so that you can get across what you're feeling.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I would say is, now, in this day and age, things are different.
Yeah, definitely.
We're seeing trends of marriages amongst Muslims change drastically over here, and the way a lot of people are trying, because no one knows what they're doing here at the moment. But for example, what certain people are saying is now, and it's kind of thing that I'm kind of saying to my kids as well, is when you get married, your priority is your family.
Yeah.
Because when you get married to someone, that's your family now.
Yep.
That's your priority, right? And then with the female, the ultimate way of respecting your husband is to respect his family. You have no more loyalty. You have loyalty to your family, but that's your new family. That's your new priority. Your loyalty goes to whoever you're married to then.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you have to show your husband respect, you have to show their family respect. But it's a two-way process.
Yeah.
So this is how I try to tell my kids. What do you think? Is that Islamically correct?
Mashallah, that's a very good guidance as a father you're giving to your children, because at the end of the day, when your daughter or your son is respecting the in-law family, then they're respecting their partner at the same time as well, isn't it? So it's a great way to kind of like give that guidance and that lesson to your children. A lot of parents are not of the same mindset as yourself. It depends on how they think, and the majority of them kind of like say, well, if you have any problem, come back home. Don't tolerate anything.
Yes.
Don't tolerate anything. For example, now, when we get people contacting us, a parent contacting us, say, I've got a daughter, I want, she's, 35 years old. We've been struggling to find somebody for her. She won't go and live with any family now because she's quite independent, and that's the way she's been living. And we need her to be living independently, so the boy needs to have his own house. So the list kind of like, starts building up already. And sort of this is what they want for their daughter, okay? And we don't want any interference, and we want the person. So for example, if they're ringing from Birmingham, the guy needs to be from Birmingham.
Right.
If you say, well, okay, Previously, people used to go to different countries to get married.
Yeah.
You know, women used to leave their homes from there to come and settle with their husbands. People used to get married from London, from Manchester. It didn't matter where you'd find the rishta from. It was basically could come from everywhere, but anywhere. But now people are saying, well, when I ask them the question, why do you want? Oh, if she has a problem, she can then come back home then, and she can come back to see us, you know, every week, and she can, you know, she can commute. But when you're getting your daughter married, historically, people used to tell the daughter, you know, we're getting you married. You need to now settle in your home and
Yes.
make that home and make that a loving home. And, you know, don't come back to us crying with anything. If it's a minor thing, just try to sort it out yourself, you know, because
Absolutely.
you are going to have problems. Which relationship doesn't have problems?
Spot on. Exactly.
Unless if it's a major problem and it's toxic and, you know, it's unbearable, then of course, you know, then your parents will be there for you. But apart from that, previously people used to say, okay, we're getting you married, you need to make this work. But now parents are saying, okay, if it doesn't work, you know, you can just come back home.
Oh dear.
Because the mindset is different. These are parents that have been born and brought up in this country. You know, they've got a different idea of marriage. But that needs to change, because you want marriages to survive, don't you? You know?
Yeah.
So it's about giving them the right sort of guidance as well. Saying, well, okay, if it's really bad, you know, I mean, we hear about that case where the girl was. There's that movie that's made on it as well. That documentary. It was up north where the guy pushed her off. There was claimed to
Oh
push
God,
her
that
off
was terrible. Yeah.
What was that called? It was called,
He pushed her off the cliff, didn't he?
I can't remember what it was called now, but there was a little documentary on the Netflix made about that. So perhaps, you know, looking at little things that may cause sort of problem, but just don't get involved with these sort of, if it's something that's going to lead to something like that, that's like very drastic. If you know the person, then you need to kind of like take action quick, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you offer a matrimonial service as well, don't you?
Yes.
Where you find rishta for people, yeah? Do you see any sort of, I'm guessing you must see, unrealistic expectations, such as, you know, he has to, not a Mercedes, he's got to have a Bentley. Do you hear stuff like that often, or?
Oh yeah, I mean that's just a very normal conversation that we
Right,
have.
okay.
So people's expectations are extremely high. We're members of the ABIA, which is the Association of British Introductory Agencies.
Okay.
So we have to comply with certain things. Obviously, we have to be registered with GDPR as well. So data is quite an important thing that we hold about individuals. But our first onboarding session that we have with individuals when they register with us is about their expectations, about, you know, is it realistic, and, you know, what are the chances if they're going to have too many unrealistic sort of expectations. Because if somebody isn't really there themselves, but they want, you know, X, Y, and Z, then we have to show them that that's what's
Right.
possible and what's not possible.
Ghazala, gives an example of unrealistic expectations.
So unrealistic expectations could be that finances are always a big thing.
Always. Got to be a rich family. How often did you hear that?
So well settled, you know,
Stable, well settled.
financially secure.
Yeah.
The guy needs to be earning X amount. And the other arguments that they will make is, okay, I'm making 100,000
Yeah.
myself, but I don't want him to know that I'm making that, and I'm not going to make any contribution or anything, which is fine, because that's her money is her money.
Exactly. Yeah, it is.
And then, but the guys are saying that we want somebody who's going to contribute 50-50.
Really?
So how do you know, when you're finding a match, you're saying, well, okay, this guy, he wants to find a woman who is going to be a contributor towards the finances, okay, 50-50. Yeah, the 50-50 discussion is taking place so much these days. It's unbelievable. Yeah, they all want a woman who's going to pay her way to live with him. So she needs to pay 50% towards the house, 50% towards the groceries, the bills, everything. And a lot of girls don't want that. They're saying, well, why do I need to get married to you then?
Okay, so people, just to explain, under Islamic law, Islamic tradition as well, the woman's money is her money, isn't it?
Yes.
And the man is meant to pay for the family.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and it's if you're a Muslim lady, any money you make is your money. And how does it work? Is the choice up to the lady how she wants to spend that money, or does she have certain responsibilities as well? Or
Well, if she contributes towards the household, it's considered as sadaqah.
Right.
It's considered as charity.
Right.
So if she is, if she does, then that's through. It should only be through her own choice.
Yeah.
She shouldn't be pressured to say, okay, this bill's here, you need to pay this now. This is not the way it works. If she chooses to buy the children something or the house something, bring something nice for the house, it's through her own choice. And it's like considered as charity, because really it's her husband's duty to do that.
Right.
Islamically.
Guys, did you hear that? Right, this is something a lot of Asian men, they stand by, and I want the younger generations to do this as well. It's your duty to provide for your family. That's job number one for any Muslim male. You provide money for your family, right? Any money she's got is her money, right? And sometimes it should be a case of, the way I see it anyway, I'm a little bit old-fashioned here, Ghazala, but it should be a case of, no, you say to your wife, no, that's your money, you keep that money, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you decide to do with your money, that's your choice.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'll provide the money for X, Y, and Z. I'll pay all the bills.
Yeah. And when a man, that's a man.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a man talking, okay? It's not a mummy's boy talking.
Yes. You hear that, people?
Yeah. And then what you see is the barakat, the blessings that you get in that, because you've made the intention to provide for your wife, for your children, on your own accord. You're not looking at where I can get some handouts, or where I can, so there will be a blessing in that, and there will be barakat in that money as well.
Okay, explain to people who are not always with it, barakat, by what you mean by that.
Yeah.
And
So for example, when money has is an energy.
Yes.
Okay? So basically, when you are scrounging, or you're kind of keeping the fist tight with the money, the energy is depleted with that money, and you're thinking, well, maybe you should do that. Arguing about money, maybe you should do that. Then there's the blessings. So barakat, it means blessings.
Yes.
Goes from that. The blessing goes from that house as well, and the household. Okay. So when a man has this intention, a true intention, to say, okay, I'm going to fulfill my duty as a husband, and I'm going to be providing for my wife, I'm going to be providing for my family, and with this money, even though it might be not that much, it'll have such a positive impact on my relationship. It'll have a positive impact in the household, and that's a blessing. Even
it is, yeah.
And the wife can also understand that, okay, this is my money. I'm not going to be using my money. I'm going to be budgeting with my husband's, how much he's earning. And she'll be able to understand, okay, what can we do with this and what can't we do with this? If she wants luxuries that are above the expectation, and her husband's earnings are not going to be able to do that, then she's wrong in expecting things.
Absolutely.
To do, yeah.
Absolutely.
So if he can only earn X amount, that's his earnings, then, and you only want your husband to contribute, then you have to do things within that amount. Okay, you can't say, okay, I want to have a holiday every 6 months or what have you, because if these earnings are not going to be, if you can't afford it, then there's no point having that discussion, or things. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I do believe that it's a blessing from God.
Yeah.
God will. This is just my 2 cents. I'm not an expert on Islamic.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on Islamic theology, but from my understanding, if you do things the right way, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to provide all the money for my wife and kids. God will look after you one way or another.
Absolutely, 100%. Because that's what we mean by blessings, when you're leaving things in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands, God's hands, and then that's the biggest positive thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Another thing that the younger guys are doing these days, and they're doing it in Pakistan and other countries mainly, but I've seen a trend here as well, is where the guys are looking for older, well-settled women.
Really?
So
yeah.
what they want is, they want to marry a woman who is financially secure. So they don't want to make the effort on making the finance, making money themselves. They feel that, okay, she's well settled, I don't even need to work, if I marry her, because she's got X amount of properties, she's very well settled, I'm sorted for life. Okay, I can just marry her and then I can just enjoy my life and go on holidays and stuff. So they're looking for rich older women.
How often are you seeing that, Ghazala?
I'm seeing it growing. Okay,
wow,
it's growing. That's a trend that we're seeing. That people are saying, we get these messages on DMs, through our TikTok or other platforms that we have, saying, I want to marry an older woman. And when you ask them, well, why? And they say, because but she needs to be well settled. And say, well, that's our choice. That's what we want. We're attracted to them, but we know what the reality
right,
is.
wow, dear.
Yeah.
I mean, so ultimately that money would be her money, and the man's still meant to provide.
Yeah. But they don't want her to keep that money. They want to just enjoy her money, basically.
Well, this is it, really, yeah.
They want to enjoy her money. They want to travel, and, okay, she can afford to take me on. And women, under this delusion that, okay, I've got a younger guy interested in me, eventually, when age is something that's going to creep up with you faster than, and he's going to be looking at other women.
Absolutely.
He's probably going to have affairs and stuff.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
You have to be realistic.
Yeah.
In a time now where you got social media and digital devices and what have you, there's no way that somebody is marrying a 70-year-old, 60-year-old because she's well settled and thinking that he's going to be staying with her, 50-year-old, and he's a 25-year-old lad.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's disgraceful behaviour, I would say,
But women used to do that before.
Yeah.
If you look at gold diggers, that thing, where women used to marry older men that were multimillionaires and, thinking, well, okay, I'll have the yacht rides and I'll go on the jets and I'll sort of live the life, pools and what have you. And the men are kind of like doing that, we're thinking, well, okay, we want an easy life, because everybody's looking for an easy life.
This is it, yeah.
Everybody's looking for simplicity, and everybody's greed and their agenda is for themselves.
Well,
they don't care about respect. They don't care about what other people are feeling or what other people's emotions might be affected by this. We see this on a daily basis, don't we? That people are using and abusing people.
Yes.
They're only out for themselves. And this is what I keep teaching people, that look, really, really think about who is a good person for you, who is really sincere, who is really somebody that can really make your life happy and easier, but also you have that respect and everything, because family units are breaking.
Absolutely.
That family unit where people used to be husband and wife and children and a happy household, that's very rare now. That's a rarity.
It's more of a trend where we're seeing, I hate to use the term broken homes, but broken families. That's we're seeing more and more of that. And what do you think it comes down to? Modern living, social media, unrealistic expectations? What's your gut feeling on this?
It's a number of things. Yes, social media has a role to play in this, because people are looking at the lifestyles that people are living on social media, because people flash things on social media, or look at what we're doing, and then they want that life as well. Okay, it's about individualism. People are just thinking about themselves, me type of thing. And that's what's causing a lot of the problems. People are more educated now. People are more in their needs are something that they put forward first instead of anybody else's needs. Okay, so there's a number of reasons why relationships are struggling. Modern relationships in particular, parents are under the illusion that, okay, well, our daughter's going to get married and they're going to live a life that what we lived. They look at relationships and looking at their own relationships, and they feel or they see a relationship being like that. But of course, the time when their parents were married and the children are now going to be getting married, it's very different times now.
Yeah.
There's very different things going on in the world. Okay, so with that, it's not going to be the same, and that's why people need to understand relationships before they go into a relationship.
I think you're absolutely right. I think on the positive side, I've seen a lot of reverts get married to people,
Yes.
and are just really happy.
Yeah.
for example, there's a lot of women who are become reverts, get married to a Muslim and think, wow, I can't believe he's paying all the bills.
Yeah.
My money's my money.
Yeah.
You know, and I've spoken to a lot of them. They've said, look, I want a man to be a man.
Yeah.
You know, provide for us, and they're very happy. And on top of that, when I've seen females marry a revert male, it's like, well, he's not a mummy's boy.
Yeah.
You know, he puts me first.
Absolutely. I think why I get a lot of requests from people saying that we want to find a revert to get married to. And the reason is they don't want the drama of the Pakistani households.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
So they're thinking the mother-in-law and now, okay, chachi, mommy, whatever it might be, you know, they need to deal with all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And when you're marrying a revert, the majority of the time his family might not really be much involved in his life.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's gone his own way, you know. And because of that, they feel happier, the girls do, because I've got a few nieces actually that are married to reverts.
Yeah, yeah.
And they, alhamdulillah, they're extremely happy.
Well, this is it, yeah.
You know.
I mean, because is it the Pakistani community a little bit toxic, do you think, at times? Is that the problem here?
They need to change their mindset,
Yeah.
most definitely. You know, they need to move with the times, and
Yeah.
they need to realise that it's not what it used to be. You know, people are holding on to traditions and culture, and some of the culture is good.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to knock culture, and I'm never, you know, some of the culture is really, really good, and a lot of the other communities have adopted these cultures as well. So where the culture is good, you keep it, but where it's toxic, you need to let it go, and sort of look at different ways of approaching things.
I think you're absolutely right. I think I've said to my kids, look, if you get married to someone who's a revert, that's not a problem here.
Absolutely not.
Because from an Islamic perspective, you're meant to look far and wide, aren't you?
Yeah.
Rather than just sticking to your own kind. Is that correct?
Absolutely. If you remember before, most of the times the Pakistani community were looking for matches within their own circles.
Yeah.
You know? So it could be a relative, it could be far distance relative, whatever it would be. But now we're seeing more and more people totally against that sort of practice. You know, they won't kind of marry somebody that they already have met through their life, or they want somebody from a different family, before we used to have the caste system thing.
Yeah.
You know, and yes, still now, even till today, I get people saying, oh, we're such and such a caste and we want to marry within our own caste. And I'm saying, look, you're going to make this very difficult for yourself.
Absolutely.
Because the thing is that the caste system was created by humans.
Yes.
You know, and we're one ummah. And even if they're a revert, or even if they're, you know, any Muslim,
Yeah.
you should get married. And Moroccans are a good example of this. Moroccans do not care which country the person's from.
Right,
As long
mashallah.
as they're Muslim and they read the kalama, that's it. Their daughters can get married to that person.
Mashallah, that's good, yeah.
Requirement. But whereas with our communities, they kind of keep going back to the same sort of, it needs to be, Pakistan needs to be from our same, and we're from Punjab, or we're from, you know, whichever part of Pakistan they're from, and they need to be from Sialkot, or they need to be from, you know, they've been born and brought up here, you know, in this country.
Yeah.
So, but the girls and the boys, they do want to branch out and marry different in different communities, reverts,
Mashallah.
Moroccans, Arabs, that were born Muslim. So, and I think a lot of the parents are seeing that's the way that's going to go, because they're adamant they won't marry. They want to make their own choices. There's no such thing as forced marriage anymore.
Yeah, that's not happening anymore, is it?
I know. And then the arranged marriage thing is a lot of it is with the choice of, you know, the children.
You have to be.
Yeah.
There has to be some input from the children.
Yeah,
where
some
they've got
guidance of the parents.
Yeah,
some
yeah.
guidance of the parents. But ultimately, if the child says, if the young adult, let's just say they're not a child, the young adult who's getting married, if they don't feel an attraction to them, or if they don't feel a connection with them, and they say no, then it's a no.
Absolutely. I think to a certain degree, it's a lot of parents are thinking, I don't want to be fully, responsible for the decision. It's got to be you.
Yeah.
I can make an introduction.
Yes.
but you've got to have the conversation.
Decide it, yeah.
You've got to decide, is there a connection here? Can I see this working? Or am I just doing it for the sake of doing it?
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing more and more of that. From my understanding here, Ghazala, the general trend is, and let me know if it's true or not, where the marrying of relations, that's dying out completely. That's finished.
Very, very, very rare now.
Yeah.
Very
It's
rare.
nothing but toxic behaviour. People are scared of deformities, this kind of thing.
Yeah,
People just aren't going down there. There's a taboo associated with it, which there wasn't in Pakistan, but here there most definitely is. I think the whole thing about, for example, I'm a Jat, going back centuries, we've only married Jats.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put that on my kids.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Absolutely.
It means nothing. The only thing I would say is, I don't want to marry someone from Pakistan.
Don't blame me.
It's the level of, it's a different culture.
The different mindset,
Yeah.
different, upbringing. The girls and the boys, they want to talk about what they did in their childhood, how it was in school, what programs they used to watch. you
Yeah.
know. And they can't share that with somebody who's come from Pakistan because they've not experienced the same thing.
Yeah.
Their mindset, their values, their lifestyle is going to be very, very different if they get married to somebody from Pakistan. And if they've married somebody from here, then they're going to share a lot of things together. They're going to have similar experiences throughout their life that they're going to share because that's what it's about. A marriage or a relationship is a friendship as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? So you just don't want to get married and just talk to about your life going forward. You want to share some of your experiences that you've had in life as well. And if it's very, very different, that could be quite nice as well sometimes. But if it's similar things that, do you remember this? And do this is what we used to do. Or we used to do the same thing here, And
Yeah.
it's just a nicer way. But they just won't get married to anybody from Pakistan because there's a number of reasons why
There's a number of issues here which I've been covering a lot of.
I know.
And in particular, where the women from over here get married to, and it's easier. That's why a lot of them seem to do it. They get married to a man from Pakistan, and as soon as he gets over here, as soon as he gets that visa, he changes completely.
Yeah.
Everyone knows someone who's seen this, and then it's again the same with the men. The men go over there, get married to a woman from over there. As soon as she gets over here, as soon as she lands, she puts in controlling, coercive, domestic violence, so she can get indefinite leave to remain, and the whole thing's just a scam.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've seen
100%.
everybody knows somebody who's seen shocking stories of this.
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on this, Ghazala? You must have heard of this.
So many experiences on this. So many experiences. So historically, it was quite common for guys and girls to go over to Pakistan. They would get married because they were respectful families, knew how to respect the families and what have you, and come over. And they would settle and they would, mix with the families, and that was fine. The younger generation from Pakistan, they're all on social media.
Yeah.
They're getting all this training. They're very, very negative. They're just self-centered. Their objective, majority of them, not all of them, majority of them are coming over with an agenda.
Yes.
Okay? So they're coming over with this mindset thinking, okay, these guys are, and they look at British people as very simple.
Yes, they do. They
so
do.
I think, they look at them as very, very simple. Okay, let's just really, really, take this guy for a ride. Let's just let's just try to take as much as we can.
Yeah.
So I've heard of families that have contacted me to say that we got our son married. We spent over £100,000 taking all the family over to Pakistan, getting her married, buying her gold, buying her gifts, sending them on holidays, did the fast track for the immigration, called her over, took her to Turkey, took her to, other countries. She was shopping all the time, and then boom, all of a sudden we did not realize what was going on, and she just called the police on us.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason whatsoever. And like you said, the controlling, cohesive behavior, because the domestic violence route, it has three main criterias that when they submit their application to the Home Office applying for domestic violence cases, there's either physical abuse, or there's mental abuse, or there's control and cohesive behavior. So they need that record with the police to get their crime reference number. So when they make their application, they can show that we've actually submitted a claim with the we've got a claim going on with the police. Obviously that's investigated, normally pending for some time, and then it just at the end there's no further action, and the girls get their ILR, because this is a fast track for them to get their ILR, indefinite leave to remain. Whereas if they go through the normal spousal route, it will take them 5 to 10 years, depending on how things have gone for them.
No, I've heard a lot of horror stories where the girls have already had boyfriends.
This
it's
is and
heartbreaking.
when you investigate it, the next thing they do is then they call their boyfriends
Yes.
over. Okay, sometimes there's been cases where girls have come over from Pakistan as a spouse, and then they've gone missing from the airport. I've had a case where a family contacted me. They said that we went to collect our daughter-in-law, and the guy said I went to collect my wife at the airport, and we were waiting for hours, and everybody that came on that flight had left. So we then contacted the inside the airport to say that my wife was supposed to be coming on this flight, but she hasn't arrived. They said, yes, she's arrived, she's gone. And what she had done was her boyfriend had come over as someone else's husband, done a domestic on his wife, saying that they were controlling me, taking all my money off me, whatever it was. So he had actually come to collect her from the airport, and she'd left with him, and she was wearing a burqa, when she
Wow.
came out, and they couldn't see her. So it left, and then the wife just did a case on him, and this is just becoming so common now, so common. So they do have boyfriends either here for them, already waiting for them, or back home, and then they apply for them, and once they get the indefinite leave to remain, they can do that. They can, apply for somebody and get married to them. So it's a huge problem. And another thing I'd like to share is that in recent months, I've started getting a lot of girls contacting me, saying to me that, I was married to a British citizen. I came over, and the family wasn't very nice to me. They were abusing and domestic violence, and now I'm looking to get married again. And I'm saying, well, if they were, these are the exact words that I've said to them. I'm saying, well, if the family wasn't good to you and the marriage didn't work out, why didn't you go back to your parents to Pakistan? That's the normal.
Right, yes, yeah, absolutely.
And I said, well, what were you doing here? And she says, oh, no, because the social worker said to me that you can stay here, and that's why I've stayed here. But, Sharif Khandan, having a daughter, kind of living in a hostel somewhere in the UK as a single girl, because she's got no husband to look after her. Why would the families, I don't understand why the families actually do that. Why don't they say, okay, dear, it didn't work out, daughter, fine, you just come back to us then,
Because a lot of it's just they'll do anything for that visa.
The visa. It's
That's
the
what
visa.
that's what it is, yeah? They'll ruin people's lives. They don't care.
And they have ruined people's lives.
Entire families,
Yeah.
who've been destroyed by this. I've had hundreds,
Yeah.
if not thousands of messages. And Ghazala, it's some of the worst stories. It's left me somewhat traumatized, to be honest.
Yeah. It damages their whole life, their career. Because
Yeah,
if that criminal record goes on their file, then they're finished, aren't they, those guys? Are they,
Ghazala, I've got people who are on the verge of self-deletion.
Yeah.
And I can't say the word because of it's not allowed on TikTok. But they're on the verge of self-deletion because they've become a victim of this.
Yeah.
It's destroyed and broken them.
Yeah.
Right? And there's people who, for example, there was a doctor once, he got in touch with me, he said, no, there's always two sides to a story. He was from Pakistan, he was a doctor. And I said, why, what's your story? And he goes, I came over here, I was abused, and they made me work. Mm-hmm. I go, what do you mean they made you work? They said I had to work as a doctor.
So that's what your profession.
And I'm there thinking, hang on a second.
Yeah.
You're meant to be the man in this, Islamic relationship, a marriage. You're meant to be the provider.
Absolutely.
And you're a qualified doctor, and you can't be bothered working. And I said, so why didn't you go back? He goes, why should I?
That's why, because you wanted a visa.
They all want the visa.
They all want the visa. It's 100%. And when you ask them the question, why didn't you go back? Oh, no, and I want to get married. Because when they realise how much it costs to actually call somebody over from Pakistan, it's not, it's a lot of money over
Absolutely.
the years. And then when they realise that, okay, if I call him over and it's going to cost me this much to do his application, and he hasn't got any money because majority of them are broke,
Yeah.
and when he comes over, it's going to take me this many years to get his indefinite. And do I really need to do that? Now they're actually looking to find somebody else here when they realise the whole situation and what it's going to mean. Then they're now looking for another person to get married here. And who's going to marry somebody who already caused so much grief?
Absolutely.
And I've said, look, my clients are professionals. They're not going to get married to a girl who's come over from Pakistan and done a domestic violence case on another British family.
Yeah.
They're just not gonna touch it with a barge pole.
Exactly.
They're gonna say, well, sorry, we're not interested.
You've got to be a part of the expression utter scum to
Yeah.
do something like that.
Yeah.
The lowest of the low.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think, so Ghazala, would you urge any people watching this right now not to get married whilst, the legislation is like this as it is,
Yeah.
not to get married abroad at all?
Absolutely. Unless the law changes. If the law was to change to say, well, okay, if the marriage doesn't work out, they're going to get deported straight away.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for them to remain here. They came here as a spouse to be married to this individual. They're no longer supporting their application because the marriage is broken down. They need to then go back to the original country that they've come from. This will stop a lot of this domestic nonsense of cases that are going on. And the solicitors and the social workers are making a lot of money.
Oh, yes, they are. They're stringing it out.
They're never going to try to find a solution for this. They're looking to, because they're loving it, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
They're making, they're getting legal aid for the girl or the boy who then come with their case through the social worker. And they're also then the parents of the boy, if they then want to put a case into the Home Office, they're also using solicitors. So they're making money from both sides, aren't
Well,
they?
that's it. So I've had lots of people reaching out to me saying to me that what happened was the woman who made the claim, for example, she gets legal aid,
Yeah.
and the solicitor will just string it out for as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because he's getting paid for this.
He's going to get paid for it.
Now, the UK citizen has to pay out of his own pocket.
Absolutely.
So he's losing money. And the family lawyers are not cheap. Family solicitors, yeah? They're not cheap at all. So they're losing money rapidly. I had another message from a lady who was in charge of a charity, and she raises as an issue, well, look, people are abusing the system over here. Her charity got defunded by the government then because she raised this as an issue.
There's another big issue as well, because you know how people like to stereotype, and the Pakistani male, let's just take that, they want to put a label on them that they're kind of like, okay, look, they are guys who do domestic violence.
Yes.
They're women.
Yes.
And these are innocent guys, and then it's just, okay, that's fine. Oh, we're not going to take their story for it because they look at them, they bring these innocent girls, and they're not innocent because these girls are now very, very aware of what's going on in the world. A lot of them are on social media.
Absolutely.
A lot of them are educated from back home. They've had training back home.
Oh, there's courses for this,
There's
yeah.
courses for this. So they know exactly the words that they need to say just to get the domestic violence case in their favour. Yeah. And the thing is that these guys that we're talking about, they just get these labels, and the government and everybody else is liking it, that, okay, it's for part of their statistics.
Well, this is it, yeah. So a lot of times people assume, and it's a stereotype they stick on Asians, they control their women.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? Yeah, they
Pakistani guy.
Yeah, Pakistani guy likes to, or Muslim guy likes to.
guy,
yeah, controls the women.
Control freaks.
Yeah, forces them to wear the hijab. Forces them, you can't go out to the disco.
Yeah, you can't eat this.
You can't
sit here. You can't, wear these clothes.
It's just not true, is it?
Definitely not.
I don't know a single man who lays hands on his wife.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got
and
a
the
lot.
thing is, the other thing is, it's a little bit of a sensitive discussion here, but a majority of them, the statements that they make is they either say that he's not a man, okay, that he never consummated the marriage, or they'll say that he raped,
Yes.
he raped me, okay. So why is it that it's only Pakistani girls that come over that are being raped? Well, but these Pakistani guys, when they marry British Pakistani girls, they've never been.
But this is it. This is
They've
it.
never been raped, you know.
Yeah.
So why is it that only you girls that get married to these Pakistani guys that you're having these experiences? It's all a scripted, document that they read, and they say, well, these are the things I need to say, because if they're not allowing the guy to consummate the marriage, and then if the guy is saying, well, okay, I'm married to you, and they say, oh, well, you raped me now. You know, does that make sense? You know, so
Absolutely.
That these are the statements that you'll see that are being made. That okay, he did this to me, he did that to me, and okay, he did this. You know, he wasn't really a man, and they're all exactly the same. They're scripted.
Well, this is it. So, Ghazala, the whole point, one of the reasons I'm so glad to have you here today is I want to say to everyone here, do not get married abroad while the legislation is like that, and to use someone like yourself for your services to find,
British people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. There's no need to go back home to get married. I mean, I would say back home from where originally our parents came
Morocco,
from.
Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's costly.
Yes.
Okay. There's a process. Okay. And the thing is, the system is being abused.
Of course it is,
It's
yes.
being abused. And there's so many good families here that have been here for how many years now? You know,
Generations now, yeah.
generations. There's a massive Pakistani community here if you want to get married into Pakistanis, but there are other Muslim communities here as well. And look at your options.
So
You don't wanna be-
my advice to people would be to approach someone like yourself for matrimonial services.
Yeah.
Now, nobody knows what to do when it comes to the kids getting married. There's no real storybook here. There's no rule book here. So my advice would be to reach out to people like yourself, have a good talk with you, and get realistic expectations. For example, it's the people who are thinking, he's got to be from a well-set family, Bentley, not Mercedes, we obviously all want that, but don't we? I mean, what do you think, Ghazala?
I think you have to look at your own level,
Yeah.
your own sort of. If you're coming from a council estate,
Yeah.
and you think, well, okay, I want to marry somebody with a Bentley, be realistic.
Yeah.
Be realistic.
But don't get married in Pakistan, though.
Yeah, don't get married.
Yeah.
Be realistic. If your son or daughter have some maybe disability or something like that, it doesn't mean that you need to rush to Pakistan to get them married, because that's what a lot of people think, that okay, my son's very simple, and maybe I need to, I might not find a decent compatible match here,
right.
but somebody poor from Pakistan might be better for my son.
Yeah.
Because remember, those kids will be getting PIP, what's it called, which is a benefit.
Right,
okay?
yes, yeah.
So when they get the benefit, then they don't have to pay for certain things as well. They don't have to show the threshold of the earnings.
Right.
PIP is personal independence payment or something.
Gotcha, yes. Very good point. Very good point, yeah.
So if they've got any disability, a lot of parents think, well, okay, I'm not going to have to pay that fee. I can just go and get him married from there. And then it's just a matter of, I don't have to show the threshold of his earnings. So this is where a lot of people have got caught up as well. And yes, there's people that are university graduates, they've got master's degrees, and they've also gone back to Pakistan and got married as well. It's not just that, okay, there was an issue, that's why they got them married from up there, from back home. But yeah, I would say that people have to be realistic when they're looking at who they need to get married to. They need to look at compatibility. They need to see who they're aligned with. Somebody could be a multimillionaire and financially secure, but they might not align with you. They might not have the same mindset as you. They might not be having the same values as you. And then that marriage isn't going to work.
Okay, Ghazala, a bit of a touchy subject here. How often do you see women approaching you saying, for example, look, I don't mind being the second wife as long as he's rich? Do you get that often, or?
The people that would say that are generally very, very independent themselves.
Right.
And they don't need like a full-time husband. They don't want to have somebody that's there 24/7.
Okay.
They'd rather that he would go and, be with his family and then just have a part-time connection with them,
so
but still give them some respect,
right.
Because the thing is, loneliness is a killer.
It is,
for a lot of
absolutely.
people. And
yeah.
there's a lot of there's a lot of Muslim females that have built their career. They're very, very independent. They're financially secure, so they don't need the husband's money. They feel that they don't need the husband's money, although Islamically they're very much entitled to that.
Yeah.
But they just feel that, okay, am I going to get married to someone? I can't have children because I'm a certain age now, for example.
Yeah.
And then they think, well, okay, I just really want companionship. And maybe if I could find somebody that I could be a second wife to, Islamically it's allowed. I'm quite happy with that. And yes, some women will have that in their mind to think, well, okay, I'm okay to be a second wife. But of course, they have to understand the complications that come with that.
Oh, absolutely,
as well,
yeah.
So I always have that discussion with them that it's not as easy as you think. And a lot of guys come to me as well saying, I'm already married, I'm quite happy, my wife's okay with me getting married again, but I don't know if that's the reality of it. I don't know if they've ever really discussed it with
their
wife,
good point,
but and then they are looking for another wife. Okay, it becomes really quite complicated. We try to avoid that, to be honest with you, because we've got we've got quite a lot of workload already cut out for ourselves, with the singles and the divorcees, and there's a lot of divorcees, there's a lot of singles.
Right, gotcha.
So we say, look, let us deal with this first, and if somebody really is happy to marry somebody who's already married, we'll let you know. And sometimes if a woman has said to us, look, I don't want to have I just want to be a second wife, and then we'll say, okay, we can connect you to somebody who might be interested. But it's not that often that we get involved, because we know how much tension it can cause for the other families. We don't want to go out there saying, well, that's something that we do, because we might get people coming to us saying that my husband got married, is it you that got
come after you.
That's come through you. I had a call the other day from a lady who contacted me, and she says that this person contacted you to get married, and did you find him someone? And I said, well, I couldn't understand who she was. And she mentioned the name and where he was from and everything. And I says, yeah, I think he did contact us. And she says, well, are you introducing him to someone? And I said, well, not yet, because he's only just come on. He's just only come to approach us at the moment. We haven't even registered him yet. It says, I'm his wife. And I just wanted you to know. And I said, okay, so I just did. I said, well, we're not dealing with him at the moment. And she says, I just want you to know that I'm his wife, and I found it in his phone that he'd been communicating with you guys. And then we get messages from wives from Pakistan saying, I want my husband to find a woman in Europe to get married to. So this is a woman sitting in Pakistan. She's married to him. They've got children. And she's approaching us saying, can you find a wife for my husband?
Oh, good Europe? Lord.
So it's really complicated these days.
Yeah. So Ghazala, what's your advice here to the Muslim community, the wider community in general as well? Rule number one, don't get married abroad whilst legislation is currently the way it is.
100%. That would be my advice. That while this domestic violence route is open for individuals that come over from abroad, and they can then abuse this system and go, just don't get married to someone from abroad.
Ghazala, it's not just the Pakistanis or the Indians or the Bangladeshis or the North Africans. I've heard people who have got married to people from Ukraine, and they've done exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
People who get married to someone from sub-Saharan Africa, exactly the same thing.
Well, there's videos flying around saying that, are you on a spouse visa? Have you been abused for domestic violence? You know that we can get you your indefinite leave to
Absolutely,
remain
yes.
within the 6-month period. And people are watching that thinking, okay, and some people have learnt it through these camps that they've got in Pakistan.
Absolutely,
places,
yeah.
Or they're coming across this thinking, okay, and obviously this is a solicitor trying to advertise their services, and it triggers these thoughts thinking, well, okay, why do I need to wait for this long? Everybody everybody's just in it for themselves.
This is it. This
Yeah.
is it. Absolutely.
Nobody cares about anybody's respect.
Yeah.
They don't think that this family spent X amount of money on us and they, really gave my family me respect and called me over. They don't care about that. And the majority of the times, the families are all in it as well.
Absolutely. That's what I'm seeing a lot of. The family from the start,
Yeah.
the mum and dad, they're all in it, in on it. And so first advice, not to do it, get married to abroad. There's plenty of people who are either based in Europe, Western Europe or the UK, who you can get married to.
Absolutely, yeah.
And are people leaving it too late? Do you think it's just how it is these days? Or what's your advice to the Muslim community here?
Yeah. My advice is to start looking early, because the thing is that because the modern way of matchmaking is that there's so many different platforms that you can use. There's applications, there's WhatsApp groups, there's matchmakers like myself, there's so many different ways that you can meet people, and that can become quite confusing for people as well. So start early. The thing is, people are leaving it too late. They're getting their education. Once they've got their education, then they say, we want to focus on our career. Okay, people are just leaving it too late. Basically, they're just focusing on themselves. We then get girls hitting 30 saying, okay, I've got my career, I've got my property, I don't want my husband to know that I've got other property.
Wow.
Because I want to, and if they do know it, I want to put like some clause into the marriage that he's got no right over it.
Which is, to be honest, which is fair. Which is fair, to be honest.
Yeah, prenuptial agreements. Yeah. And the guys do the same. Okay,
right.
I've got property and I don't, anything that I've accumulated before the marriage, it shouldn't be hers, because anything we do together, that's fine. That's both of us. Again, it's the together thing that we see most of, 50-50, that everybody wants. But Islamically, we've just discussed that it's the responsibility of the husband.
Yes,
okay?
yeah.
So trends are showing that women are becoming, because of this individualism, they're focusing more on themselves. They're afraid of marriage because they see marriages breaking down quite often. So it's a psychological sort of thing that's holding them back as well.
You're absolutely right, yeah.
So, and the guys are looking for financial security. They feel that they're not financially secure because they know that the woman is going to be looking for property, they're going to be looking for independence, and they're not really there yet. So most people now, before in my time, people used to get married early 20s, even teens, late teens, 19, 20, 25 was the max sort of age.
Yes.
But now you're kind of seeing people getting married mid-30s now. Okay.
Yeah.
But this can be a problem for the girls because obviously they have a clock, they have the menopause and all these other things, having children. It's healthier to have children when they're younger. And people are not prioritizing relationships and marriage. They're prioritizing career, money, and fame.
Absolutely, I think you're right.
So that's what's causing the whole sort of issue.
I think you're absolutely right. You've nailed it there. Where people are, there's a hesitancy regarding this. People are worried, and they're afraid to get married, so they're just leaving it, and then they're getting worried as time progresses. And they all know, well, I'm getting older now, And I think we're going to see more and more people. I think we currently are seeing more and more Muslims who are just childless.
Yeah.
And the one thing as a Muslim we're allowed to have is companionship under the right circumstances.
Yes. It was the first relationship that was ever created was of husband and wife.
Absolutely.
And it's a beautiful relationship.
Yes,
if you have the right person. So people are hesitant. And people are reluctant, and people are also confused as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because they've got so many options. I worked with a guy. I had a few meetings with him. Paul Brunson. He runs a show on TV called Married at First Sight. He worked with Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
He's a matchmaker himself, and he said the issue is that the choices, they've got too many choices.
Yeah.
Because they've got too many choices. They can't make a choice then. When people used to get married before, they used to say, you've got this option, and this option. These are the three people you can choose from. Okay, these are the only 3 people you could choose from, and then they had to make the choice.
Very good
so
point.
It was easier to make that choice. Now it's okay. You've got groups, you've got WhatsApp groups, you've got apps, you've got matchmakers. I send several compatible good matches to individuals. Rejection, because they just feel that there's something better, like what you're saying about the grass is greener.
Yes.
There must be somebody better. There must be somebody better than this. There must be that person that of my dreams must be out there. That person doesn't exist, and you're going to be wasting a lot of time and money really by looking for that person. If you connect with someone and you think they tick majority of the ticks are there, then just go for it.
I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes if you get married to someone who's got money because of his money, what happens if he loses his money then?
Absolutely.
So, and if you get married to someone because he's a doctor or high-paying software engineer, what happens if AI comes along and takes that job away?
Yeah.
There's got to be a connection.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, the most successful ones are where they didn't have huge amounts, but they made a go of it, it worked, and then they got to where they wanted to get to.
They grow together.
Exactly.
They grow together. They have faith with each other. They, respect each other.
Stand by each other.
And it doesn't matter if they've had struggled at times, but they know that they'll still remain with them. When we look at the Prophet's stories, and you've got not Yunus, Ayub.
Yeah.
And they actually, the Prophet Ayub alayhi salam, they suffered a lot of they were very rich.
Yeah.
And then they suffered a lot of illness, and they were married to several women, which was quite common in those days. But all the women actually left them because they became poor, and
This
they
is
became
it, yeah.
ill.
Yeah.
But one wife remained through all their poverty, through all their illness and everything. So it teaches us that, the thing is that in different circumstances, your life can change, but to remain humble and to remain in that situation is only certain people that will remain in that, if that makes sense. It's just, I don't think I'm explaining this.
No. I think you're doing a very good job there.
I think this one, how I'm trying to explain this is that when we look at the stories of the prophets, these are messages for us.
Yes.
That certain things can happen in your life, and these are tests for
Absolutely.
us as well. Okay?
Absolutely.
So these were tests that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had put on the prophets, and then all the wives left, and but really it was just a test, because what happened was, I think with Hazrat Ayub alayhi salam, I think it was challenged that the only reason he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him everything.
Yeah.
They had given him the wealth, they had given him the wives, they had given him the beauty, the health, everything. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him by taking all of that away, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he became ill, he became poor, he lost his wives. I think there was just one wife that remained. But he still used to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in whichever condition he was in. He still praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restored everything.
MashaAllah.
So restored everything back to the Prophet, yeah? And this just shows you that sometimes you will be tested in your life.
Absolutely, you've nailed it there. You will be tested here.
You will be tested, because this world is a test, isn't
Yeah, this is absolutely what it is. You will be tested in life.
You will be tested.
That's one guarantee you got.
Who's going to stay firm and stay with that person to say, well, okay, this is a test for us?
Well, this is it.
Sometimes children, you can be tested by losing your children.
Yeah.
And sometimes this can cause a massive problem and arguments between husband and wife if they don't understand that this is a test for them. But sometimes that can bring them closer to each other as well.
Sometimes it brings them closer. Sometimes I saw, for example, one guy. He was a landlord. He had a few properties behind him. Then his wife's brothers all got into her ear. If you divorce him, you'll take half, thinking they'd get some.
Yeah.
So they put pressure on her. Divorce him. She divorces him. She takes the majority of his properties. They wanted their cut. By the end of it, because she was listening to her brothers, whatever, yeah, she lost everything. Right? So this guy's divorced her, moved on, married someone else, and he's rebuilt his fortune.
Yeah.
Now she's sat there, You know, no one's going to want to marry her now, yeah? Or she's finding it much harder to find a partner.
Of course.
And he's moved on. He's far happier than he was before. And he's financially very, very successful. And that's what she really cared about.
Yeah.
The comforts of life. The whole thing's a test.
It is. And I mean, it's a good point that you just made about the woman divorcing the man. This is called a khula.
Yeah.
You know, we're a woman. And we're seeing a huge increase in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Because even the imams are making it very easy.
Oh,
for
they're
the women.
corrupt.
You know,
They take money for it.
Yeah, they take money for it, and they say, "Fine, you know, we'll write to him a few times, and then that'll be it." They don't even bother to investigate what's actually happened. So it's making easy. Okay, it's the woman's choice if she wants to live with him or not. That's fine, but they have to understand the full consequences of this. Now, the properties that the man has, if the properties belong to the man, or any jewelry that they had for their meher, when it's a khula, they lose all of that. You know that the rights under Islamic law, when a woman takes a khula, then she loses all her rights to her property
Right.
that the husband has. So, and if he's written down that he would give her X amount of meher, normally the meher is deferred. A lot of girls are now asking for property and cars and gold, you know, as their meher, a big amount, because they don't want the marriage to fail.
Yeah.
So, but their life can become hell, and then they want to leave, and then they have to do the meher, and then they still lose everything anyway. So it's a test, isn't it?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Test in different ways. That's also a test. Are you just married for money, or are you married for, you know, a life with somebody together?
Yes.
Because you can be poor and you can be extremely happy.
Absolutely.
You know, you can be extremely happy. And I've seen this. I've gone to places in Pakistan where people are really living in these remote sort of villages, but they're extremely happy. They don't need, money's not an important thing for them. Happiness and joy and, you know, connection with an individual is more important to them. But when people get this thing that money will make you happy, money's going to make your life easier. It's going to allow you to do certain luxurious things. But does that really make you happy? Or is it the individual that needs to make you happy?
This is it. So, Ghazala, how can people reach out to you for your matrimonial services?
So they can contact us through our website. We have 3 different websites. So we've got ghazalasalim.com. So my name doesn't come with a H.
Right.
It's GAZALASALEM.com. That's my own personal website because I'm a brand within myself.
MashaAllah.
And then we have muslimmatrimonialcoach.com. And we have loveconnectionlimited.com. Okay, so these are the different platforms. But of course, we're on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Mainly on TikTok, we've got over 128,000 followers.
MashaAllah.
So
You've done well there.
Yeah, mashallah. So we do a lot of lives where we do matching for individuals live as well, and lots of different events up and down the country. And we do obviously the personalized matching, but the app will be doing a lot of the work for us in terms of educating people about relationships. My background was in education for 30 years.
Right.
So as an educator, I'm very passionate about education, and I feel that there's a huge gap where people need to understand relationships and understand the challenges, especially for modern relationships. And hopefully, once they understand that, they'll be better partners and better husbands and better wives.
MashaAllah. Now, these events, how often do you have them and where do you have them?
So the events we have generally in masjids, because I feel that the mosque is the best place to have events.
Good point, yeah.
These are family events, so parents can come along as well. And these are, we feel that when people come to a mosque, they have a different mindset. They know that they're doing something for their deen. It's completing half of your faith when you get married.
Yeah.
And what that means is that people know that when we get married, we're going to become a husband, we're going to become a wife, we're going to become a parent, we're going to be, there's a huge responsibility that comes with that. So understanding the Islamic perspective of it, the importance of marriage. So we do them in Birmingham, in Manchester. We've done a few in Manchester, mainly in London.
Right.
But hopefully after Ramadan now, we're going to start doing more events up north.
Okay, mashallah, yeah.
So because we know that we've been getting a lot of requests from up north, but we've been so busy with events in Birmingham and in London, mainly in London, to be honest with you, because London's such a huge area, and we get about 100 people at our events generally.
Right.
So it's a good turnout. So inshallah we will be doing them in Manchester as well, and the northern sort of regions, Bradford and other areas.
Please do let me know when your next one's on. So we
Inshallah.
can, yeah, inshallah.
Yeah.
Right. And just a general subject here. Ghazala, do you think more and more people are thinking, you know, the UK, it's our home, it's been brilliant, but maybe our future lies elsewhere? Are you seeing more and more of that?
I think, yes, 100%. More and more people are applying for positions, especially in the Gulf countries, Muslim, you know, girls, boys, teaching professions or engineering positions, paying better lifestyle, warmer weather. They're looking at the UK going downhill to some respects. You know, being born and brought up in the UK myself, being here for almost 60 years, you know, I've seen a decline in a lot of
that's
what
the
it used
issue
to
here,
be,
yeah.
you know. So they want to have a different experience. People want to have a different experience. And yes, that is something that is playing on a lot of people's minds. They do want to go and experience something different in a different country. And you know, you've got a lot of millionaires that have left from the UK to go and live in Dubai and places like that. Business opportunities, work opportunities, better lifestyle, you know, safer environment, better weather, all sorts of things. So hijrat is something that's encouraged in our religion.
Absolutely,
as well.
it is, yeah.
You know, my parents came over in the late 50s, 60s, early 60s. And they remained here. We were born here, brought up here, and went to schooling here. My son's now kind of like gone through his schooling. I've got my grandchildren now that are going through their schooling here. And sometimes you just want to have a change, you know, and a lot of people contact me to say that, look, we do want to get married, but we are planning to go abroad.
Yeah.
So if you do have somebody who's of the same mindset as us, who would also like to move abroad or is considering moving abroad, that would be the ideal individual for us. And do you have somebody who's a British person living out in the Bay or living out in Saudi, and you know, if you could match us with them perhaps rather than matching us with somebody here. So yes, there is definitely a growing demand for people, an interest for people going abroad.
I can see why, yeah, because it's again, we've been here, we've grown up our entire lives, lived here, great country, this will always be home.
It's a great country.
Yeah, but I think it's had its day.
Yeah, I think it's had its day because of different legislation and laws and politics and everything else. I think a lot of people want to see some change here, you know, and that's why the government's under a lot of pressure to see this, you know, the NHS and education and everything's kind of, every single institution needs a shake-up. You know, and
absolutely right, yeah.
Yeah, so people are seeing that and thinking, well, what are we really getting? And sometimes people just want to get a different experience.
Absolutely right. Yeah,
you know, it is a great country.
Yeah,
I love England. I was born here. This is my home.
Yeah.
No matter what people might say through this video, saying, "Oh, you're brown" or what have you. You know, when you're born and brought up in place, you do love that place. You know, you do feel as soon as you come off an aeroplane and you come to England, you feel I've come home.
Thank God.
You know,
it's that feeling. Thank God I'm home. Yeah.
You have that feeling.
Yeah.
But, sometimes people just want to experience something a bit different as well, so that's fine. I have a lot of British white friends that are now living in Dubai, multimillionaires.
Yeah,
you know, I've done business transactions with them and meetings with them and what have you, and they are loving it out there because they're having a different experience. It doesn't mean that, okay, you're white now and you're not belonging to this country, or you're a different colour, you're a person of different colour and you don't belong here. You want to experience different things in your life.
This is it.
And people should. People
Absolutely.
who are of a different community, different race, they should go to different countries and experience that. The world is ours.
But this is it. I mean, the way I see it is, for example, a lot of people, white people in particular, they'd all, when they got older, moved to the south of France, Spain,
Yeah.
you know, somewhere nice, somewhere hot,
Yeah.
for a different episode of
But
their
that's
life.
great. I think they do really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
So-
they want to experience something good, and I think our own, other communities should be thinking the same way.
This is what a lot of the Asians are doing now as well. They're thinking, do you know what? We want the same kind of thing. The south of France might not be the right place for us.
Yeah.
You know, for some it would be, but Spain maybe, but the Middle East.
Yeah.
You know, there's North Africa, there's Turkey, there's other options
Yeah.
opening up. And I think more and more people are looking at the transnational lifestyle.
Absolutely, and I think for an Asian, or in particular for a Muslim person, their interest also in the Gulf countries is that they have their faith there.
Yes,
as well,
absolutely, yes.
They've got a country that follows the rules of Islam. And
Yes,
what have
yeah,
you, and
absolutely.
they've got the mosques on their doorstep, and everything's halal, and there's multiple reasons why they feel at home when they go to these countries as well, connected to
This
those
is it.
countries.
I think
But
it's-
I'd still say England is home.
I think you're right, yeah. Nothing, I mean, a well-run England,
Yeah.
a properly managed England beats everything hands down.
Absolutely.
And even in terms of, being closer to your dean, you can do that here.
Yeah, it's a country that's been built on a lot of good principles.
Yes, spot on.
Extremely good principles. The rule, British values.
Yes.
If you look at the British values, the majority of them are the same as the Islamic values.
Exactly, they are. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
In fact, I would say they've taken Islamic values and done more with them than a lot of the Muslim nations have.
Absolutely. So it's a brilliant country. Great Britain is great, I would say. But, if people want to experience something different, they want to go and live in a different country, get better weather, just enjoy that, I think they should experience that. It's something that's encouraged in our faith as well.
Absolutely,
the Hijra.
absolutely. Inshallah. So,
Inshallah.
yeah, emigration to somewhere better is always encouraged in Islam.
Definitely.
So I'm hoping that I've not become too old and too set in my ways, but at some point I'm going to branch out somewhere or another. So inshallah. Ghazala, it's been an absolute pleasure having you, and inshallah I'll have you again on the show at some point as well.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
No, thank you so much. Yeah. So if people want to reach out to you, just so you can see, muslimmatrimonialcoach.com. Is that correct? Yeah.
So www.muslimmatrimonialcoach.com is the company. That's the personalised matchmaking. But my own website is www.ghazalasalim. That's spelled GAZALASALEM.com. That's my own website.
Ghazala Salim spelled correctly.
Yeah.
Right,
No
mashallah.
No H in my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
please let me know when you've got an event up north. I'd
Okay.
like to attend,
Definitely, inshallah.
and inshallah we'll have you
Definitely.
again on the show here. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. For
Thank you,
that.
Ghazala. Yeah.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care.
Raja Sahab out.